Hello spooky friends, I'm Ashley, the Georgian Gothic. From my last video, you might remember that I hinted at a big Halloween project that particular reticule was going to go with. And today I'm finally going to reveal what that is. I am making a historically accurate cosplay of the Bride of Frankenstein. I am a massive Frankenstein nerd. I know things like little details, critical lenses, facts that most people who read it in high school or college don't really care about or even know about. But I studied it multiple times in college as an English major and multiple times since. It is one of my favorite classics. So it's inevitable that eventually I would want to do this cosplay. While the famous films take place sometime in maybe the 20s or 30s, or feasibly the turn of the century from a tombstone that's seen in the film The Bride of Frankenstein, the book actually takes place in the 1790s. And more specifically, the creation of the bride probably takes place around 1796. So that is the year and the era that I am going for. I'm going to be making a full ensemble from the shift out. I do already have the shift and stays, but the rest of it is going to be a bit of an endeavor, and I'm going to hand sew the entire thing. I'm going to cover the full design of the gown in my next video when we talk about the gown and the robe that's going to go over it. For the moment, we're just going to focus on the underpinnings. So the under petticoat that will go over the stays, the stockings, and the garters. Also, I should note that this whole ensemble from start to finish took a very long time, filmed over many months. So you might see some changes in my sewing room or changes in my personal appearance throughout the footage that I captured, because I started this back in February and just finished it recently. And I'm only just getting to actually compiling that footage now. That's on me.
Any historical ensemble begins with the shift, stays, and under petticoat. These are my transitional stays, which I had already made, sewn entirely out of cotton drill and a cotton poplin with tiny forget-me-nots. It's not common to see patterned cotton on stays, but I thought it was charming and it had some cute pastoral vibes, and it still looked block printed. Not every pair of stays I've seen in this era are white or neutral. I've seen some bright colors from this decade in stays. I just like fabrics that have a little color to them. The style of these stays begins to bridge the gap between the conical stays of the 18th century and the early corsets of the 19th century. The bust is shaped a little more naturally in this decade than it has been, the waist moves up, and the tabs either shorten or disappear. The amount of boning also changes because the structural demands change.
So for my under petticoat, which would influence the shape of the gown, I went with a very slightly different waistline than you see in most Empire gowns. I didn't really love, as a lot of people don't, the directly under the bust. I also saw there was a little bit of a trend in about 1796-97 that dropped the waistlines just a tiny bit. I don't know if you can see, to the rib area below the bust. So that's what I kind of decided to go with, and that would solidify it into a particular year. And this is called a transitional waist, which is ultimately what I liked better personally on me. I can also adjust the gown a little bit if I want. The final version, which you will see, I can raise the sash up and down a little bit to simulate a higher waistline if I really want. But in general, this is what I decided to go with. So this is the under petticoat from American Duchess Guide to 18th Century Dressmaking. And you can see that it's got, it's basically just straps with the back of the bodice holding it onto the cotton voile skirt. However, these are my stays, and I love them, but they have a slight pattern on them. So can't really have the open front of bodice like this. And you can wear these with chemisettes and other tuckers and things that would probably hide that, but I would rather not take that chance.
I opted to make my bodice petticoat out of linen and cotton voile. The references I had were either back closing or open in the front with the shoulder straps extending down to the skirt without any bust coverage. However, I need to be able to dress myself in this ensemble, so that rules out back closures, and I wanted to make sure that the fabric of my stays didn't show through to my gown. I created a bodice out of linen that closes in front, which is very similar to a gown under bodice. I don't have any extant examples to reference for exactly this, but I can't say that it's especially accurate or inaccurate because bodice examples that still exist are very rare. It covers my stays or even gives me the option to wear this ensemble without stays, as some people may have done. The skirt is simply made of cotton voile panels gathered up and stitched to the skirt. At the center back, I made a very small bustle pad, which is whip stitched to the seam between the bodice and the skirt. Next comes stockings and garters. This is regrettably not something I filmed, except for a small portion at the end. The embroidered stockings are made using the Rosalie stockings by the Dreamstress, and I will put a link to that pattern below. Next, we have the garters. After drawing out an appropriate design based on a pair of garters at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, I transferred the design in pencil to lightweight cotton fabric and embroidered it. The left has a Latin translation of the popular Frankenstein quote, "Beware, for I am fearless and therefore powerful." The right uses, "If I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear."
this project is just the start of a lot of embroidery, which I cannot wait to show you and which you will see in the next video. Until then, stay spooky, friends.